The ancient words slithered across the table, a language no server should comprehend. Look at her, thin as a starved dog. Does she even remember what pride feels like? Alara's hands didn't tremble as she refilled water glasses. After 18 months of hiding, she'd mastered the art of feeling nothing. Lord Varen, a bloated commander, lounged carelessly. He spoke freely because no common wolf could understand the sacred language of royal bloodlines. But Alara wasn't common. Born in the high halls of Ravenspire, trained in the ancient tongue before she could walk, groomed to become Luna to Damian Blackwood, one of the most powerful alphas in the realm, until he'd destroyed everything. Perhaps she's packless, another voice joined, deeper and colder. One of those strays crawling to border towns for scraps. Alara's gaze flickered before she could stop herself. Kieran Stormborn, Alpha King of the Eastern Dominion. Dark hair, brutal elegance, winter gray eyes sharp enough to cut. Steel. He watched her with pure assessment, a predator studying prey. Decent bone structure for a servant, Varen continued. Perhaps available for evening entertainment? Laughter rippled around the table. Will there be anything else, my lords? Alara's voice was steady, unremarkable. Kieran's head tilted. No, you may go. She turned toward the kitchen, spine straight. Behind her, the Alpha King spoke 4 words in the ancient tongue, meant only for his companions. She understood every word. Alara's blood turned to ice. The back door was 10 steps away. 8. 5. A hand closed around her wrist. Kieran Stormborn stood behind her, having moved through the crowded kitchen silently. His grip was iron. The ancient tongue hasn't been taught outside royal bloodlines in 3 centuries. I don't know what you're talking about. Your pupils dilated, your pulse spiked. You controlled your scent perfectly, almost. He stepped closer. Who are you? Nobody doesn't understand a dead language. His thumb pressed her racing pulse. Nobody doesn't move like they were trained in a high court. Alara's options collapsed. Lie, fight, run, none would work. Tell me who you are, or I let my men interrogate you. They're far less gentle. She looked at the exit. 3 steps to freedom she'd never reach. My name was Alara Nightshade of Ravenspire. Recognition flashed across his face. Nightshade. The Luna bloodline Damian Blackwood claimed went extinct. He lied. Kieran's eyes swept over her threadbare uniform, calloused hands, hollow cheeks. Why is the last daughter of a royal Luna line serving water in a border tavern? Because dying in the woods where Damian left me seemed worse. They sat in a private room. Kieran had dismissed his men. Now just the 2 of them, wine untouched, 18 months of secrets between them. Start from the beginning. I was betrothed to Damian at 18. The Blackwoods had military power. The Nightshades had Luna, bloodline, ability to sense pack bonds, strengthen them, identify traitors. She traced the scarred table. For 2 years, I was his weapon. I strengthened his pack, identified 3 assassination attempts, made him untouchable. What changed? I discovered what he really did with that protection. Her jaw tightened. He wasn't defending territory. He was systematically destroying rival packs, using my intelligence to assassinate leaders, steal resources, absorb survivors. 10 packs in 2 years. Thousands dead or enslaved. All because of me. When you confronted him, he told his pack I'd gone feral, that my abilities drove me mad. She pulled down her collar, revealing a jagged scar. His men dragged me to Thornwood at midnight to kill me, but the wolf ordered to finish me with someone I'd saved from Damian's purges. He let me run instead. You've been hiding since, moving town to town, never staying long enough for questions. Kieran was quiet. Then, Damian Blackwood has been destroying everything I've built for a decade. He controls trade routes, blocks every alliance. I've tried diplomacy, economic pressure, military strikes. Nothing works. His pack believes he's invincible. Because of me. Which means you know his weaknesses. Kieran leaned forward. You have information no one else possesses. Help me expose him. Every crime, every murdered alpha, every pack consumed through treachery. And what do I get? Protection. Real protection. He stood, walking to the window. Damien believes you're dead. The moment you surface, he'll send hunters, assassins. But if you're under my protection, formally, publicly, he can't touch you without declaring war on the Eastern Dominion. Her heart hammered. What kind of protection? He turned. Marriage. The word hung like a blade. You're joking. I never joke about strategy. Marry me, become Luna Queen, gain rank, resources, an army between you and death. Help me build a case against Damien. We expose him together. Watch his empire burn. You don't know me. I know you chose conscience over safety. Survived being left for dead. Spent 18 months hiding without breaking. His eyes held hers. This isn't about alliance. You're asking me to bind my life to yours. I'm asking you to let me protect you while we destroy a common enemy. Alara walked to the window. Somewhere, Damien was building power, believing she was rotting in an unmarked grave. If I do this, I want justice, not just revenge. The packs he destroyed deserve truth. The wolves he murdered deserve their names spoken. Agreed. And if I become a liability, you'll let me go. That won't happen. Promise anyway. He crossed until he stood close enough for her to feel his heat. I promise. He extended his hand. Alara looked at scarred knuckles, a ring bearing the Stormborn crest. A man offering to make her queen so they could burn down her enemies. She'd been left to die by a man who saw her as a tool. Now she was being offered a chance to become something dangerous. She took his hand. We have an agreement. Iron Reach. The fortress rose from eastern cliffs like a declaration of war. Black stone towers, predator eye windows, a capital city sprawling below. Built during the Blood Wars, Kieran said. Never been breached. Comforting. Guards snapped to attention. By nightfall, the fortress would know their king returned with a strange woman. The household staff assembled, 60 wolves led by Marin, silver-haired with steel in her spine. This is Alara Nightshade, Kieran announced. She will be Luna Queen within the fortnight. Marin's sharp eyes swept over her threadbare clothes, calloused hands, defiant jaw. Something like approval flickered. Welcome to Iron Reach, my lady. We have work ahead. The next 12 days blurred into instruction. Alara learned ranks, memorized territories, practiced walking in gowns heavier than her entire tavern wardrobe. She learned Kieran had ruled 11 years since his father's death in a border skirmish many suspected Damien orchestrated. That 5 years ago, Damien murdered Kieran's younger sister, a diplomatic envoy whose carriage was attacked by bandits never identified. That Iron Reach's library contained 3 centuries of intelligence reports Kieran had read completely. Nights, they built their case. Alara provided names, dates, methods. Kieran cross-referenced intelligence, identified sources, mapped Damien's web of corruption. Clinical work, strategic, impersonal. But sometimes working late, Alara caught Kieran watching her with an expression she couldn't read. Sometimes his hand brushed hers over maps. Neither mentioned it. The night before the wedding, Marin brought a wooden box. Inside, a circlet of woven silver set with a black opal containing captured starlight. A note in Kieran's precise hand. This was meant for the woman who would rule beside me. I never thought I'd find someone worthy. Wear it tomorrow, not because I command it, but because you've earned it. Alara held the circlet to candlelight, watching colors shift. She'd come expecting cold strategy. Something far more dangerous was taking root. The test. The wedding was private, just Kieran, Alara, the high priest, Marin as witness. No celebration, no theater. 3 days later, 12 visiting alphas arrived. Allies who've suffered under Damien but lacked strength to oppose him, Kieran explained. They need to see you're credible. If they don't believe it, the coalition I've spent 3 years building collapses. No pressure. Alara dressed in emerald silk, silver circlet gleaming. When she descended to meet guests, conversation stopped. She knew what they saw. An unknown woman wearing a queen's crown. She knew what they needed to see. Alpha Kendrick. She approached a weathered man with suspicious eyes. Your family held Greymore Valley 6 generations before Damien's forces displaced you. Your youngest daughter bonded to someone from the Ashbourne pack. She paused. I grieve for your loss. His expression shifted. You know of the Ashbournes? I know Alpha Brennan Ashbourne was murdered through treachery, poisoned ceremonial wine before formal combat. His daughter taken as war prize, given to Commander Draven. And I know you've waited for someone to speak these truths. Silence filled the hall. How do you know this? Another Alpha demanded. Because I was there. Alara turned to the room. I was Alara Nightshade. For 2 years I was betrothed to Damien Blackwood. I witnessed his crimes from inside. I have names, dates, evidence that will destroy him, if you're willing to stand with us. Silence stretched. Then Alpha Kendrick raised his glass. To the Luna Queen, and the death of tyrants. One by one, the others followed. Across the room, Kieran's eyes held something new. Not just respect. Pride. The Concordance, the summons arrived by Raven 3 weeks later. The Concordance, Marion announced. All major alphas gather every 5 years to negotiate treaties, settle disputes. Alara's stomach tightened. Hosted by? The Northern Coalition, which means Damien will be there. She found Kieran studying maps of the neutral fortress, Thorngate. We don't have to attend, he said. I can send representatives. No, if we hide, he wins. Other alphas need to see we're not afraid. Are you afraid? Terrified. Some nights I still wake up running from shadows that smell like his wolves. Kieran looked up. You don't have to face him. Yes, I do. Every day he believes I'm dead is a day he feels safe. She met his eyes. I want him to know I survived. To see me standing beside you wearing a crown, untouchable. I want him to understand everything he tried to bury is about to destroy him. He studied her. We leave in 4 days. Stay close. Don't engage him unless I'm present. If anything feels wrong, we leave immediately. Agreed. He crossed to her, close enough she could see, ice flecks in his gray eyes. When he sees you, he'll know everything changed. He'll be dangerous. His hand rose, almost touching her face before stopping. Don't let him see fear. Only the queen you've become. And what have I become? Something raw flickered across his expression. Someone I never anticipated. Someone essential to me in ways I don't fully understand yet. Then he stepped back, moment broken. 4 days. Rest while you can. Face to face. Thorngate Fortress emerged from mountain mist like a stone giant. Banners from 24 territories snapped in wind. Alara's hands trembled as their carriage approached. She hid them in her gown. You outrank half the wolves in that fortress, Kieran murmured. The other half fear me too much to touch you. They descended into a courtyard of watching eyes. Whispers began immediately. That's the new Luna Queen? She appeared from nowhere. I heard she was a servant. Alara kept her spine straight, circlet catching light. Let them. Whisper. The great hall was stone and firelight. Long tables around a central speaking floor. Kieran guided her to their position. High table, seats of honor. She was pouring water when she felt it. Familiar darkness pressing against her senses. A scent she'd never forget. Pine smoke, cold iron, metallic cruelty. Damien Blackwood had entered. Golden hair, trustworthy face. Warm eyes that crinkled when he smiled. Beauty designed to inspire belief. She knew what lay beneath. He moved through the crowd, radiating charm. Then someone whispered in his ear. His gaze swept the hall. Found her. Stopped. For 3 heartbeats, nothing existed except the space between them. She watched color drain from his face, watched his confident smile freeze and crack, watched certainty crumble to ash. She raised her goblet slightly. "I'm still here." Shock cycled through his expression. Disbelief, then something like fear, before his mask slammed back. He smiled that warm, trustworthy smile, inclined his head, turned away as if nothing happened. But she'd seen the truth. He was terrified. Good. The threat 2 days of formal negotiations. Damien kept distance, but Alara felt his attention like a blade at her throat. Third night, she stepped onto a balcony for air. Footsteps behind her. She turned, expecting Kieran. Damien Blackwood stood in the doorway. "Hello, Alara. You're looking remarkably well for a dead woman. Funny. You look remarkably calm for a murderer." "Murder?" He stepped onto the balcony. "You disappeared before our wedding. We searched for months. I was devastated. You had your wolves drag me to Thornwood and ordered them to kill me. A misunderstanding. Overzealous guards." He moved closer. "I would never hurt you. I loved you. You loved what I could do for you." His mask flickered. "Whatever grievances you think you have, this isn't the place. You've somehow convinced Stormborn to marry you. Impressive social climbing. But if you make accusations here, you'll only humiliate yourself." "Will I?" "You have no proof. It's your word against mine. I'm an alpha with spotless reputation. You're nobody who crawled from obscurity." He smiled. "Who do you think they'll believe?" "I think they'll believe the truth." "The truth?" Damien laughed softly. "You always were naive, but let me be clear." He leaned close, voice dropping to whisper. "I know about your mother and brother. Still living in that pathetic southern village, aren't they? Still unprotected, still vulnerable. Ice flooded her veins. If you say one word against me, they'll be dead before you return home. A raid, tragic, random, unprovable." His eyes were flat, cold. "Do you understand? You're threatening my family. I'm explaining consequences. You've survived longer than you should. Don't push your luck." He stepped back, charming mask sliding into place. "Enjoy the rest of the concordance, Luna Queen. Some secrets are better left buried, like some people." He walked away. Her mother, her brother, the only family left. Damien would kill them without hesitation. She had to warn Kieran. "How much did you hear?" She spun. Kieran stood in shadows, expression carved from stone. "All of it," he said quietly. "I followed when I saw him approach. My family will be protected. I'm sending riders tonight." He crossed to her, hands closing around her shoulders. "Look at me, Alara. Look at me." She met his eyes, burning with unshed tears. "He will not touch them. I swear it on my blood and throne." His grip tightened. "Do you trust me?" "Yes." "Then trust I'll keep them safe while we destroy him." His thumb caught a tear. "He thinks he's won because he threatened what you love. He doesn't understand. He's just sealed his own fate." "What do you mean?" "He threatened the Luna Queen's family in front of a witness. Under concordance law, that's grounds for me to demand formal hearing on any accusations we bring." His eyes blazed with cold fire. "He's given us legal standing to expose everything. Tomorrow we use it. The confession." That night neither could sleep. A knock at her door. Kieran stood there, still dressed, shadows beneath his eyes. "You should rest. So should you." He stepped inside. "I couldn't stop thinking about what he said, calling you nobody. 3 months ago I was serving water in a tavern. 3 months ago I was a king without purpose." He moved closer. "I had power, allies, strategy, but I'd forgotten why it mattered. Revenge had become an end, not a path to justice." He stopped close enough she could see his pulse. "You reminded me. Every time you insisted on justice over vengeance. Every time you spoke names of wolves he killed. Every time you refused to let this be purely about power. Kieran." I didn't marry you because you were useful, Alara. I told myself that for maybe a week. But truth is, when I found you in that tavern, something in me recognized something in you. 2 wolves broken by the same enemy. 2 wolves who refused to stay broken. Her breath caught. What are you saying? That somewhere between strategy and survival, this became real. He cupped her face. When he threatened your family, I felt something I haven't felt since my sister was killed. Pure, absolute rage. Not because it endangered plans, but because it hurt you. That's not strategic at all. No, a ghost of a smile. It's terrifying. I've built my life on control, and you've dismantled it without trying. She covered his hands with hers. I was left to die by a man I thought I loved. I swore I'd never trust anyone again. She pressed a kiss to his palm. But you found me. Saw what I could become before I saw it. Now I can't imagine facing any of this without you. Then don't. He leaned down, forehead against hers. Whatever happens tomorrow, we face it together. Not as allies, not as strategy, as something I don't have words for yet. I might have a word for it. What? She kissed him. Not tentative, not questioning. A kiss containing every sleepless night, every shared map, every moment of growing trust. He responded instantly, pulling her closer, hand tangling in her hair. The kiss deepened into something fierce and tender and inevitable. When they broke apart, breathless, his eyes were brighter than she'd ever seen. That word, he said roughly. I think I know it too. Then say it. Not yet. After tomorrow. After we end this. I want to say it when we're free. Promise? I promise. He held her until dawn lightened the sky. Then together, they prepared for war. The reckoning. The final day dawned cold and clear. 24 alphas assembled for closing ceremonies. Damien sat radiating confidence. He believed he'd won. Believed Alara would stay silent to protect her family. He was wrong. As ceremonies concluded, Kieran rose. Before we depart, I invoke the right of grievance. The hall went silent. The right of grievance was ancient law. Any alpha could demand accusations be heard before the full concordance. Rarely invoked. Consequences severe for both accuser and accused. On what grounds? The presiding elder asked. Attempted murder. Systematic fraud. Conspiracy to destroy sovereign pacts through treachery. Kieran's voice carried like thunder. I accuse Alpha Damien Blackwood of crimes against the realm. Chaos erupted. This is absurd, Damien declared. Stormborn has been my enemy for years. He'll say anything to discredit me. Then let evidence speak. Kieran gestured to Alara. My Luna Queen was once betrothed to Damien Blackwood. She witnessed his crimes from within. She will testify. Every eye turned. Alara rose, circlet catching light. I was Alara Nightshade of Ravenspire. For 2 years I served as Damien's intended Luna, using my bloodline abilities to strengthen his pack. During that time, I witnessed systematic destruction of 10 sovereign packs through assassination, manipulation, and fraud. Lies, Damien shouted. She's deranged. I ended our betrothal because she showed signs of mental instability. I have names, her voice cut through his protest. Alpha Brennan Ashbourne of Greymore, murdered through poisoned ceremonial wine before formal challenge. His daughter taken as war prize, given to Commander Draven as payment for loyalty. Murmurs rippled through the hall. Alpha Kendrick leaned forward, eyes blazing. I have dates, locations, methods used to make each conquest appear legitimate. She looked directly at Damien. And I have witnesses who will confirm everything, starting with Commander Draven himself, who has agreed to testify in exchange for immunity. Damien's face went white. That's impossible. Draven would never. Draven realized loyalty to you meant eventual execution when you no longer needed him, Kieran said coldly. He was surprisingly eager to talk once we guaranteed his safety. The doors opened. A haggard man in chains was led into the hall, Commander Draven, the wolf who'd carried out Damien's darkest orders. It's true, Draven said, voice hollow. All of it. I was there for the Ashbourne assassination. I disposed of bodies for 6 other packs. I delivered the Luna's daughter to my quarters on Damien's direct command. He looked at his former alpha with something like relief. I'm tired of carrying his secrets. The hall exploded. My daughter's mate was Ashbourne's cousin. You murdered him. My brother's pack was absorbed 3 years ago. My father trusted you with territory negotiations. He died 2 weeks later. Damien backed away from rising accusation. This is conspiracy. Stormborn manufactured evidence, bribed witnesses. Then explain this. Alara pulled a leather journal from her gown, recovered by Kieran's spies months before. Your private ledger, your handwriting, every pack you targeted, every alpha murdered, every asset seized. She threw it onto the central floor. Explain how a servant's imagination conjured the exact names and dates you recorded yourself. Damien stared at the journal like a venomous snake. The presiding elder rose. Alpha Damien Blackwood, you stand accused of crimes against the peace of the realm. How do you answer? Silence. Then Damien moved. He shifted faster than thought, wolf form exploding toward Alara, claws extended, jaws wide, murder in his eyes. Kieran intercepted him mid-leap. The 2 wolves collided in a thunderclap of fur and fury, crashing to stone in a tangle of teeth and claws. The hall scattered as the fight raged. Alara watched, heart in throat, as Kieran drove Damien back with savage efficiency. He was larger, stronger, trained for exactly this combat. But Damien was desperate, and desperate wolves fought without limits. A claw raked across Kieran's shoulder, drawing blood. Then Kieran found his opening. His jaws closed around Damien's throat. The hall went silent. Damien shifted back to human form, blood streaming from the wound at his neck. Kieran's teeth still pressed against his pulse. Yield, Kieran growled, the word barely human. For a moment, defiance flashed in Damien's eyes. Then it crumbled. I yield, Kieran released him, shifting back as guards rushed forward to seize the defeated Alpha. The presiding elder's voice rang out. Damien Blackwood is found guilty by combat and testimony. His territories are forfeit. His crimes will be judged by the full council. Take him. As guards dragged Damien away, his eyes found Alara one last time. You should have stayed dead, he whispered. No. She stepped forward, meeting his gaze without fear. You should have made sure I was. Free nearly midnight before they found themselves alone on the same balcony where Damien had threatened her family. Mountain wind had turned gentle, carrying the scent of victory. Your family is safe, Kieran said. My riders reached them this morning. They're en route to Iron Reach now. Relief flooded through her. Thank you. You don't need to thank me. They're my family now, too. She turned to look at him. Bandages wrapped his shoulder where Damien's claws had struck. Exhaustion lined his face, but his eyes were warm in a way she'd never seen. You promised me something, she said softly. After we ended this, a word you'd say when we were free. He moved closer, hands finding her waist. We're free now. Yes. He cupped her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone. I love you, Alara. I didn't plan it. I'm not even sure when it happened. Somewhere between finding you in that tavern and watching you face down the man who tried to destroy you. But I know it's true. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You're supposed to be cold and strategic. I was. You ruined that completely. A real smile, unguarded and warm. Loving you is the most irrational thing I've ever done, and I've never been more certain of anything. I love you too. She laughed through tears. I thought I was broken, that I'd never trust anyone again, but you saw who I could become before I saw it, myself. Made me believe I was worth protecting. You were always worth protecting. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. You just needed someone to prove it. They stood as the moon rose over Thorngate, 2 wolves who'd found each other through strategy and survival, and somehow arrived at something neither expected. Love. Real, terrifying, unshakable love. Epilogue. 6 months later. Alara stood in Iron Reach's great hall, watching morning light stream through tall windows. Where once there had been war maps and strategy tables, now there were smaller desks, training materials, quiet hum of activity. 23 women moved through the hall, survivors of Damien's conquest. Wolves who'd been taken as prizes, or lost everything when their packs were destroyed. They were learning to read, manage resources, defend themselves. Alara called it the Iron Reach Sanctuary. Kieran called it her revolution. 3 more applications this week, Marin reported. Word is spreading through northern territories. Women are traveling weeks to reach us. We'll need to expand the East Wing. His Majesty already approved construction. Among those recovering was Brennan Ashbourne's daughter, finally freed from Commander Draven's cruelty. Learning to speak again, to trust again. Some days she even smiled. Damien had been executed a month prior, his crimes so extensive even his former allies voted for death. His territories were being returned to original bloodlines. Over 40 families reunited with lands and titles stolen years before. Justice, not just revenge. Alara found Kieran in the war room, not planning battles now, but coordinating resettlement of liberated pack territories. You're staring at me, he said without looking up. I'm admiring my husband. Encouraged, actually. He set down his pen, turning to face her. She crossed to him, settling into his lap despite his half-hearted protest about important documents. He wrapped his arms around her waist. Do you remember the first time you saw me? She asked. A server in a border tavern who understood words she shouldn't know. His lips brushed her temple. I thought you were a spy. And now? Now I think fate has a sense of humor. He pulled back to meet her eyes. I was looking for a weapon against my enemy. I found a partner, a queen, and the other half of my soul. Dramatic. Accurate. She kissed him softly. I was left in the dark to die by a man who saw me as disposable, and I was found by a man who showed me I was irreplaceable. You showed yourself that. I just provided the battlefield. Outside the window, Iron Reach's grounds stretched toward the horizon. Gardens where once there'd been only stone. Families walking where once there'd been only soldiers. Life growing from ashes of what they'd destroyed together. Alara rested her head against Kieran's chest, listening to his heartbeat. She had been humiliated, abandoned, erased. She'd survived on stubbornness and desperate hope that someday, somehow, she would matter again. Now she was Luna Queen of the Eastern Dominion, founder of a sanctuary for the broken, wife to a man who'd chosen her when he could have used her, and somewhere in the mountains, in ruins of a tyrant's empire, the wolves he'd silenced were finally speaking their names again, all because an Alpha King had underestimated a waitress, and she had understood every word.